I guess we're all slaves to our backgrounds, really, and our upbringing, Skin. How did that sort of influence the way you developed your photography?
That's a good question. I think I had no money, and I wasn't spoiled as a kid. So every object I got, they were, it was a Christmas present or a birthday present. So they weren't, they were my special presents, and I wanted the camera much more than ever. So all the stuff that it was just hard work, really. It was all, I think I had to work a lot harder because I was not poor, but working class. So I think the harder I worked, the better it became in the long run. Though it definitely didn't seem like that at the time. But I think that might be the answer.
Okay. You were also a bit of a bird watcher.
I was, yeah. Well, my dad used to take us out on every weekend. He'd put us in the car, we'd all pile in, the mates would go, and we'd go down to Gower, we'd go swimming up Pontardawe. In the nights he would take us play sports. And my dad was like, he worked hard in the week, and he'd always have the weekend off. And the weekend off, he'd take us everywhere. And he had a pair of binoculars. And he didn't watch birds. Well, he watched birds in it, but not that type of birds. He used to watch tankers coming in and the ferries coming in, and he'd go down the Mumbles and he'd know what, all the ships and everything, because he worked in the fisheries at that time down in the docks. So he always had a pair of binoculars on the beach. So I always knew what optics were. And then we always had cameras in the house as well. And then I really got into like bird nesting, eggs, collecting eggs, which I did for a little while, and I stopped that. And then I went into just looking at birds and cataloguing them. I became, absolutely fascinated with birds from a really young age. Birds and horses, that's the other thing I used to ride. Well, not ride the birds, ride the horses and watch birds.
So, but those were early years, and you talked, I read one interview you did, you talked about finding yourself. And
yeah.
I find that kind of really interesting, because finding yourself and finding where you fit in.
Yes.
Do you always sort of kick against the pricks sort of thing,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, one thing that happened to me, because I told you earlier, I got diagnosed with bipolar 5 years ago, and I did therapy through that. And then one of the things that I talked about in therapy was that I got abused as a child from when I was 10 to 12 in a soccer team. And that I didn't really realize it at the time, and it wasn't bad. It was bad, absolutely. I was bullied, but I didn't get it like a lot of other boys got it. But I got it. Psychologically, I definitely got it. And that by the time I was 12, my therapist was like, "Well, that's why you're rebelling against society." By the time I was 12, I was just like, and bollocks, I'm done. And then I got into trouble. I became a cat burglar in Swansea for 2 years. And when I was 14, we did a burglary in a skateboard shop when I was 14. And I went to DC for that, which was the Borstal at the time, and they called that the Shop Shot Shock. They don't do that anymore. They don't put kids into jail anymore. They keep them out as much as they can, because it has a really traumatic effect on them. And that happened to me. So that was the reason I've always been, against the grain, really. But I was victim of circumstance. I don't know. But what I wanted to be more than anything was a professional footballer. That's what I was getting groomed for my family. But I didn't realize that at the time. But I had the potential to be a pretty decent footballer. I was captain of all the teams when I was a kid. And as soon as I got that abuse, I was done then. I never played again properly, like in a team sport, since I was 12. But football was my is my big passion too.
Right. So
it's football, bird watching, ornithology, and photography.
Would you regard yourself as an obsessive?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I also have I cannot pay attention to anything. At school, chucking stuff at me. Why are you looking out the window, Phillips? What are you doing? Daydreamer, it ticked every box back in school, but never got any help for it. Just got bullied for it, really, by the teachers, people didn't really bully me because, you know, I was, you know, one of the toughest kids in the school. So, but I thought to be the toughest kid, if someone wanted to challenge me or made fun of me, you get hit. And I don't know if you know this, but I have rather large ears. And people used to call me Dumbo when I was a kid. If you called me Dumbo, you just get a smack, and then you wouldn't call me it again. Right? And then when I went to Borstal, people would flick my ears, and these guys were like men, and I was 14. And then when that was like, I'm never going to jail again, and I'm never coming here again, because this is not going to happen to me again. I am not the hardest person in the world, and I never will be. Do you know what I mean? I realised that as a really young age.
Yeah. So when did this sort of kind of road to Damascus moment happen? When cameras became...
I went on a trip to Russia. I didn't study Russia in school, but one of the teachers, I cannot remember his name at Geneva, he was a bird watcher, and we were in the Young Ornithology Society for the Gower. And my friend, Andrew Reynolds, was in the Russian class. And we were 16 at the time, really. And we went on this, and I knew about optics by that time now, by being in the bird watching thing. I knew what Zeiss was, and I knew what Leica was. I knew what those optics could do. And then when we went on this trip, Andrew had a little Olympus trip, and he was like, "Oh, you put the film in here, you do this," and then I can't remember the geezer's name now, but the teacher had a Canon A1, and I remember looking at the A1, going, "Oh man, what a beautiful thing that is." And then through that, then was sort of triggered me to become obsessive, not obsessive, but that was like how I sort of started sort of like wanting to become a photographer, because at that time I was about to leave school, I didn't have a job, Thatcher just came into power, you know, we all thought we were going to come out and get apprenticeships and go become carpenters, plumbers, whatever we wanted to do. That never happened. We were just all on our ass and on, you know, YTS and what YOP schemes, and we you know, it was a tough time in the early 80s, especially in Wales, what they did to us. Then, the other thing I was thinking about this too, I actually watched this movie, it was called The Boys from Brazil. The Boys from Brazil. And in this movie, they clone Hitler into all these different Hitlers. They cloned him 16 times, right? And one of the Hitlers was the photographer Hitler. And I remember thinking, I wouldn't mind being the photographer Hitler out of the all 16. I mean, you know, that would be not the worst Hitler to be. Right, and then I saw Blow Up too around that time as well, right? Yeah. So, and then there was these other things, and I was like, oh, you know what? But then I had to wait for 2 years till I got my first camera, and I got my camera then for my 18th birthday.
Right.
So my mum and dad said that, oh, massive moment, game changing, an Olympus OM10, 50mm. Right. And that was, and then I had a camera shop around the corner. Mike will run there, he passed away, they're on Walter Road and up the top, and then I bought it, I go in every day, you know, in the camera shops, learning, like, you know, I try to get into college and do all these different things, but then it was like a self-taught.
Yeah, because you didn't get into college, did you?
Didn't get into college, no, and when I went to college, I shot this wedding, just a little wedding I was at, and they kind of like took the piss out of me, because I cut the legs off and all this, and then I was just like, you know what? Bollocks to you boys! Like it wasn't a nice interview, you know. And then like you said, all that early stuff is rubbish. It was really, but I really wanted to be a surf photographer. Like surfing was like a really big thing.
So where did that come from then?
I from going to the beaches as a kid. Yeah. My dad had a bodyboard too, so we'd have a floatina and we'd go and thing. But I couldn't afford a surfboard, and I lived in a little terraced house in town. So we couldn't do that. And then when I was about, I'm trying to think, I'm sure these dates are right, I was 4 or 5, it was 1968, me and my mum went to a double bill on the Odeon on the Kingsway, and one of the double bills was this little short called Skater Data, and I watched Skater Data, and whenever I saw skateboarding and saw it, I would be like, oh my God, what is that? What is it? And it hit you, because we have a surf community, so the 1968 first wave of clay wheels came to Swansea because we have surfers here, and that's how it came. Skateboarding was made for surfers to practice. Yeah. And I remember seeing Skater Data, and that was game changing. I was like, I'm going to be a skateboarder. And then I started making them out of roller skates. So I first started skateboarding when I was 4 in 1968. Yeah. So it's 50 years I've actually been riding on skateboards. That's quite a long time. No tricks, just lots of riding on a skateboard.
Well, Swansea's got a rich heritage of skateboarding.
Oh, absolutely.
In general,
if you
it's
watched
just-
Over Plywood, the
Yeah,
documentary
yeah.
that John did, it's huge. They started here in the 60s. They had a skateboard team, the Dave Fryer skateboard team, that was going on when the Zephyr team was going on. So, you know, because we had the wheels and we were really at the forefront of that scene. A lot of the surf towns was, but Swansea, because we were a city, we had that, you know, we were skating streets as well as skating ramps and parks, and, you know, they were well-rounded skateboarders here, always have been.
It's, you find the kind
And
of...
good surfers as well.
Oh, yeah, well, you had the best of both worlds, didn't you?
Absolutely.
I suppose the key to a good scene is...
Good waves.
and a good skate shop, you know? And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the skate shop supports the community.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and they do, I mean, look at Rick and
Yeah.
Katie that exist. They got the store, they got the indoor park. None of them is government funded. They're doing like all sorts of community work. They're going up to Blind and Mice to work with people. You know, they're doing all this great work to keep people into skateboarding off the streets, but no one gets any help doing that.
They don't know,
No.
you're right. Because I know Rick, and I know they've put in a lot of work to just... well, they had to turn the park, didn't they, into a charity for a start. Yeah. Skipping on to Transworld magazine, what was the decision to go to the States? How did that happen?
Well, I worked then through the 80s. I got some photos printed in surf mags. That worked. I bought a housing because I couldn't afford a long lens, so I should become a water photographer for a long time, and that worked out great because I've got a lot of good photos, you know, published, and I really like progressed as a surf photographer. And then I nearly drowned twice doing that, which was really scary. And I stopped doing that after I nearly drowned, and then I concentrated then just purely on skateboard photography because I was getting more and more work done. And I did this thing. I did an interview and photos on my way to Australia, and it got published in Rad. And I got 500 quid for it, and that saved me in Australia. And in that point, I understood that I could actually go out and interview someone, put the photos with it, and be like an editor. And we'd always been doing editorial by doing zines and all that, so we sort of I knew what that was. And that was when the moment clicked. And then that progressed more and more for Rad, more for Thrasher I was working for at the time. And then Transworld picked me up in the summer of '93. I did a Carl Shipman interview in the summer of '93. That got published. And then I went out in January and I got the job in February. They made me full-time in February. So I was full-time at Transworld.
So you were staff photographer?
I was staff, yeah, in '94. No, staff. I was an assistant editor and staff photographer. Wow. So I went into staff. I went in straight into I was never a contributing photographer. I went into a staff photographer. It took me 10 years to get a photo in that magazine. That's how critical they were of the standard of photography.
Yeah, of course.
But it was really interesting that you amalgamated your photography with writing. How did you find both? I mean, because writing is a kind of an art in itself as well, you know. How did you find mixing both? And what
when I was in jail, when I was a kid, when I was in Borstal, I wrote Papillon. I never wrote a book in school, but I read Papillon when I was a kid. That's why I have that butterfly tattoo there. And then the time went faster when I was reading. So I sort of started reading a lot from the time I was 14 till, well, I still read all the time now. And then when I started interviewing people, the words then would come out of the people, but I was always writing zines as well. I always saw myself as a bit of a poet or whatever. I always enjoyed writing, but I never really had the patience for it because you have to be really patient to be a good writer. But yeah, I can actually write. I'm not say pretty good, but I can do a really good interview. I can get you on I get them in on the couch, and then what I say before we start, you tell me everything you want to tell me. Don't tell me anything you're not comfortable with, and whatever you're not comfortable with after, I'll take that out of the interview, and then everyone will let themselves go then within that interview. So you can get into like really good, gritty subjects by talking about more than just skateboarding. Because everyone's skateboarding career is pretty much the same, but their family lives and the different. That's the difference, right?
Yeah, because that informs the way they are as people and the way they behave as skateboarders. Yeah,
yeah, correct.
Because I find that really interesting, Dan. I don't know that people's emotions and the way they are comes out through what they do. Was that the case with you and skateboarding?
Skateboarding is a kind of art in itself, isn't it? It's a way for you to express yourself, and it was always in the 80s, it was always kind of a thing for troubled youths, wasn't it?
Yeah,
you know,
it still is.
Yeah, it still is. And it was always a kind of, they were always a troubled bunch, you know? But now, and we were, well, back in the 80s, you know, that no one wanted to be a skateboarder, and everyone was just taking the piss.
No.
And
it's funny that, it's because we do get a bad rap, right? With a lot of, someone just was told us we're like the new urban cowboys, no one ever understands us. And you can go down a road and people will not overtake you on a car. They don't treat you like a bike because you stand in, like going, it's a weird thing that they don't even like know what you're doing. You're just rolling down the road and people will beep you, and like, if people beep me now, I just step off the thing. I don't even like do a finger or anything anymore. I don't like get involved, because if you don't know what I'm doing, I'm skateboarding down the street. Yeah, it's hard to get into traffic sometimes.
Yeah. So when did you know that when you started shooting skateboarding, when did you know that was, I know how to do this? I know.
I didn't know how to do it really till I lied till 96. When 1996, I had this euphoria moment where I was using multiple flashes for a long time, because a lot of it, we all thought that it was the California light, but they were doing like high sync flash stuff, which is really hard to do. And it took me ages to get that. And one of the things they were doing, they were always putting the flashes on the ground so the lights weren't going up. So what I did, I put my Vivitars and my sound packs onto light stands and pointed them down. And then I was just like, oh my God, it's where you point the lights. It's called light drawing. It's photography, you flipping idiot. What have you been doing for the last 16 years?
Did you really feel it?
Yeah, I did. And I never told anyone about it because they'd think I was stupid. Do you know what I mean? And then when I got the sync right and all the exposures were right, because, you know, if it was slightly blurred, it would not go in. If the timing was a minuscule out, it would not go in. It was the best of Transworld. But what happened was that Grant Britton, who was the photo editor, became my mentor. So I'd work in the morning, do my writing. I'd go out at 3 o'clock. I'd shoot every night from 3 o'clock till 8 o'clock or whatever. I'd do night photography. I'd go out Saturday and Sunday, I'd shoot. And then every morning I'd go to Grant, look at these. And Grant would critique me every morning. Don't like this, you've done that wrong. This is what this. So Grant, like, you know, the guy that I sent photos for 10 years and I couldn't get a photo down, became my mentor and one of my best friends, you know, within skateboard photography. Yeah, so within life, really, Grant's been amazing.
Yeah. So what did you learn from from that time then? What was...
I felt at that time that I was in the skateboard university of photography. I felt that I was like really, you know, they really took care of me. They gave me good money. They sponsored me on visa. It was mom and pop then. So like every year they were like, look, you've done well this year. I'm going to give you another 10 grand. We're doing good. You're doing good. Next year, here's another 10 grand. You know what I mean? My first couple of years, I was making like 120 grand a year from freelancing and doing, I was bringing in like good money. And I was pissing that away on camera equipment and cars and, you know what I mean? All the rest I wasted.
But you know, you were sort of working with film, for God's sake.
Yeah. But all the film was free.
Ah.
So all that then would come in blocks then. There would be fridges, go and get your film. We had a dark room in. You drop it in the night, come down in the morning. They'd deliver it in the morning. We'd drop it off at the lab. So we were turning over really quickly. It was a really professional, like, it was like the Sports Illustrated I mean, it was groundbreaking stuff. And the art direction, the people they had working for it, just the whole ethos of Transworld was just...
Yeah, it always seemed...
just cool. And they didn't have to swear. You know, because we were intelligent people. We're not that stupid. Some of us are, but you know what I mean? And you can learn... if you make it interesting and make it fun, and you give, you know, like the music pages, or just people... You'd learn a lot from reading a magazine. I used to read it covered the cover twice when I got it. And then back then, we actually used to build ramps as well. I built Morpher, because I was a carpenter, and I built Morpher, and all I would look at is the ramps and how they built. I was really fascinated in the actual construction of the ramps as well.
Right. Is there a standout moment? Is there one shot from that time, or a series of shots from that time that you think, fuck, yeah, I got it?
Well,
right.
there's one photo that triggered that of Kelly Bird, and then that went on and on and on. But I have a couple of, I have the San Francisco Bridge cover that I shot. That was a moment when they brought in, when that went onto the bed, they brought in the photo editor of the Snow magazine as well, and everyone was like, "Look at this!" And within the day, they told me it was going to be the cover.
So, were you building up relationships with skaters then?
Oh my God, they're my best friends, right? They're like relationships, like brothers, really. A lot of them. Some of them I shot the whole careers that they became famous through. So we became, I became a mentor to some of them, uncle, dad, whatever you want to call it, and I became really good friends with people too. So it was a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Dan?
I can imagine some of the pros being a little bit temperamental.
I wouldn't say temperamental to not landing tricks, because back then when we used to shoot on film, and we used to do sequences on film.
Yeah.
And I'd give you 7 or 6 rolls, and if you didn't do it in the 7 or 6 rolls, that would be it. And then they would always feel that they were letting you down because they didn't land the trick. So it did get tetchy at times.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't tell them. They were like, "What were we on?" And I wouldn't say it, and I would just hide the rolls. I'd just be like that. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about the rolls. It's not about the rolls. It's about you getting the trick. It's not that.
Because a sequence would be 10,
12 frames.
12 frames,
So you got 3, and then if you were getting tight on a film, you would piece it together.
Oh, okay.
You get the start. I nearly got the landing. I haven't got the landing yet, so I'd wait and I go do, and I'd piece it. I try not to piece it because you can always tell. You can't always tell, but something moves in the background, or you don't really want to piece the sequence together unless you can help it.
I suppose the joy of digital these days in
But the thing is, so even if you do piece a sequence together, you made the trick, and you have a sequence to prove it.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
There's one picture that I saw. It's called Death of Fawr, and it kind of really intrigued me, that photograph.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, well, when we were 1982, we had this little ramp, then the Rotherslade ramp, and that's when I first started taking photos of this younger crew. And the council shut the Rotherslade ramp. It was in a little quarry over Little Langland. It was an absolutely idyllic location. And some of the surfers from the VAR built a VAR ramp, and it was just like janky but really pretty good ramp in the woods doing VAR. And then that got, and then everyone used to smoke a pot in the back of it. It had a little den in the back, so it was like a ramp come weed den. And brilliant ramp though, like, but good times then. We'd all go in the woods, we'd skate, shoot photos, we'd have like little contests, and it was coming down. So the council found it, taking that down, and then that was the Death of VAR. The contest was called the Death of VAR. And then Ron hung up on a trick, a foot plant or something, I can't wrong, and he just went down like bam, right to the flat bottom, just smashed. And Ron is on the floor there, and everyone's looking around Ron, who's just had the gnarliest slam, like a hospital slam, Yeah.
Gosh.
And that's what that photo is, and that's me, because I don't like if you're hurt, I won't go in your face. Some people will. I don't like, I'll just, if there's no one there and you got cut in or you break in anything, I'll go in and I'll help you straight away. And I've seen the gnarliest stuff. But I know Ron's okay, he's getting taken care of, so I'm away and I'll take a photo of that. But if someone's cameras go down, someone gets hurt, I know they're getting hoofed, then it'll go down. I might, if I see you slamming, I might shoot the slam, and I'll keep a couple of those. I do. I have bail stuff I'm looking at now of just people going spread eagle over rails that I've never run. You know what I mean? So, but I don't really like showing that stuff.
It's all part of documenting the process, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
That not every trick is kind of nailed first go. There's a whole process. You know,
Absolutely.
I've been at spots with people who've been there for 3 hours, and you probably know that well.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what that Death of Bar, that's what the photo is. Yeah.
That's a lovely photograph.
Yeah.
It is a really. I was, you know, I don't know because.
But that's got that slide film, like that 80s sort of texture, right? And it's funny because when you look at old photos, you don't think they're old until you see a car in it. You're like, oh my God, that's an Austin Healey from flipping heck. I am really old.
Yeah, but those kind of, and you were talking about the council shutting it down.
Yes.
And how have you seen councils start to understand that
Councils don't really understand what skateboarding is. People don't understand what skateboarding is, so to try and explain it to them is difficult. It's like trying to explain skateboarding to anyone is like trying to explain what music is to people. Like, it's very specific and personal, and we have all these subcultures within a subculture of different types of skateboarders and different attitudes, and so, you know, I find that difficult to explain what skateboarding is. So it's really hard the Tony Hawk Foundation has done great work to get more parks going, and we can do it, but you have to be, if you're a councilman or councilwoman, you have to be really open-minded to what we're going to come in and propose to you, and you have to like believe in us and listen to us, because ultimately what we're going to do is going to be a really good thing for the community, and you have to give us a chance. If you give us a chance, we'll repay that.
Yeah, and of course they put up anti-skateboarding devices all over the place.
Yeah, and it is growing. Absolutely, it's growing, and we've got a new. I don't really talk about it because it's just in its development phases. But if this thing pulls off like I think it will, you know, Swansea could become a skateboard mecca in the world. That's what I'm looking for. I'm blue sky in this. There's a thing at Adidas called Blue Sky. Blue Sky me. Okay, the biggest park in the world. I like it. What's more? Oh, Utopia. I like it. What else have we got? Utopia. Lots of drinking too. Yes. What else have we got? It's like that. You know what I mean? When you blue sky, you're like, no rain.
No rain. That's the main one.
How has your approach to shooting changed over the years?
Oh my God. Yeah. Now, because I had a really tough time adapting to digital. I could not pay attention to Photoshop. Diddly, like, fucking kill it. Photoshop has been killing me. So, but it really helped when Lightroom got developed. So when Lightroom got developed, I could do the, you know, like the alien skin thing I used to do. But then, because I was always a manager and a team manager, and I was an editor-in-chief, I was the boss. So I would just do it on a whim. I would go on trips. I'd put myself on a couple of my own trips, and I sort of didn't study hard enough to make that transition. Just my workflow is ridiculous. You'd probably laugh at it. It's just, I don't even know where stuff is, and it's kind of a shit show, really, the digital aspect of it. So what I did then, I really fine-tuned it, cut it down. One lens, one camera, always there's a D300 right now, so one lens, no, two lenses, a fisheye and a long lens, and that long lens is only 1.35. I have no zooms. And I shoot a long or I shoot fish. I keep it really simple, but with the best equipment, you know, all quantum, you know, like I got like all the high sync all organized. I got the speed, I've got all like the technical stuff there. But what I do now, and I saw Sam help me do this. He was an Adidas photographer, and he showed me his setup so I could do the same ads when they needed something in America. And I loved Sam's photos too. And so he would put the flashes really far away, but they still come in and light up. So that's what I do now. I just take them further and further away out.
So that it's less of a boom.
Yeah, but my approach, you know what it is. I like composition in a photo. You just can't go up to a place and someone's doing a trick and just sit down and go, this is it. You need to walk around. You need to get the angle right. You need to go higher if you have to. Always carry a ladder in a car back in the States. You know what I mean? I would like get up on a roof. I would really try to change the way, like a bird's eye view. Right.
And personalise your photography.
Absolutely.
And create your own style.
Yeah.
One aspect of it I find intriguing, just going to throw a bit of a curveball at you maybe, is the commercialisation of it all.
Yes.
And I suppose it was inevitable that it would become commercialised.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that sort of area as a
I'll do it.
photographer?
I love commercialism. That means more money. That means a living. Making it commercial, extra money from ads, extra money from magazines, or whatever you can do. We don't do that anymore. We haven't got, that money's not coming into it anymore. The skateboard photographer thing really has died on its ass since media print went out. So I like, because more commercialism means more money for skateboarders, and that gives them more of a chance in life in the long run. So I'm fine with that. And we've done a good job of not having governing bodies. We've kind of done it all on our own rules as well. So, there's this big thing going on now about the Olympics. Oh, it shouldn't be an Olympics, shouldn't be, skateboarding sold out. If you think that skateboarding hasn't sold out, you've not been paying attention to skateboarding. It's sold out 25, 30 years ago. Arguably, it's sold out in like 1980. Or not 1980, but 82, 83 when it came out. It went along, it did sell out a long time ago. In the early 80s maybe, that's when the real commercialism of it, came in, when, your Jimmy Z's, or everybody wanted a piece of it. And then nobody wanted a piece of it. Then everybody wanted a piece of it again. And now everybody wants a piece of it. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a perfect sense. Do you follow skateboarders out of the skating world and follow them into their community or?
Yeah, I do. Well, if I know them, they're friends or they're people that I shot. Yeah, I know. And when I was working at Adidas, I know everything because I was the manager, the team manager. I knew all about their personal lives. Like I knew, met the families, met everyone. So I knew exactly what each of my riders was up to. And I knew a lot of what the skaters were like too, the families. But a lot of these skaters come from broken homes, and they come to California to fulfill a dream. And some of them do, some of them don't. So it's quite when you're outside of skateboarding and not shooting, and you see, you have to. I just party with them basically. That's all I've done. Go out for drinks, traveling together, having fun. That's
so
what I
do
do.
you photograph those events as well? Or those
Yeah. That's what I do. That's what I used to do. Go on trips, photograph them, write about them, put them in a magazine. Do a spotlight, pro spotlight. That would be like a bigger project, or a checkout. So if I go and see a good kid who's got a shop sponsor or cut sponsor, he would have a checkout. So I shot. It was always something. Whenever you went to a city or when you went out, there was always something you could photograph to get published. If a band came in, you can shoot the band. That would go in a magazine. So day to day, if you knew what you're doing, you could get a photo that would always be published, or make a little story that would always be published. But then I wanted, when I sort of branched out of, and I wanted to do this, and I never really did, but I really wanted to do like how there's no racism in skateboarding, how skateboarding is good for the community, like really, really kind of more investigative journalism really. But I never really did that because we were censored a little bit at Transworld. It was really 14. It's strict, double A really. And, you couldn't swear, you would not let you talk about drugs. And there was a lot of weed, there was a lot of drugs in skateboarding, still is. So, like there is in music. So, yeah.
Dan?
Well, back to the kind of skateboarding is going to be in the 2020 Olympics. I've always been for it because I think some of these pros really like and want to compete at the highest level.
Yeah.
So I think they deserve to win an accolade of the highest level, But I know snowboarding went through a similar thing. How do you tame these kind of pros to be able to become...
Here's the thing, right? The Olympics is brilliant. I watch the Olympics. We've all had watched the Olympics.
Yeah,
My dad was into athletics, so I watched him every summer. It's only the Americans moaning about the Olympics, right? They're whinging about... It's a small part of the court. And I get it. I understand your point of view. I understand. But Africa's not moaning about skateboarding Olympics, right? France is not moaning about it. Some kid in flipping Papua New Guinea who thinks maybe I can get a gold medal one day. He's not moaning.
Yeah.
This is the world now.
It's possible.
And the other thing that's great about it is the same amount of women are going to be in it this time too. Now the women's scene has been shit. It's been awful. That's making a big rise right now, a huge rise.
Yeah.
So women are coming up, like the snowboard women and the surf women, they're coming up like really fast. And you're going to see that in the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yeah, I'm genuinely interested in.
And I'm really happy it's in Tokyo, because Tokyo is one of the skateboard capitals of the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. So I think it's going to be amazing. I really do.
Well, while we're on the subject of travel, you've obviously been everywhere as a skateboard photographer. Where would be your favourite destination?
Astragunlice.
Good answer. Mine too.
What's cool about Astragunlice, then?
There's no
The
skateboarding up there. My favourite, oh my God. San Diego's one of my favourite cities, right?
Yeah.
They call it the whale's vagina, don't they, in Anchorman. San Diego, and that's America's best kept secret. I know I blew that one right there, but it is. So I love Southern California. LA, I'm not really a big fan of. San Francisco, I'd love to live in San Francisco if you could afford it. And New York.
Yeah.
And Chicago is amazing too. Like, there's a lot. New Orleans, I loved when I went there, because New Orleans was just absolutely mental.
Really?
Yeah, that was like what I thought Amsterdam was going to be like when I went there first. And Amsterdam was just a bunch of dudes smoking pot, watching Bob Marley videos and Pink Floyd. And then when I went there, and then, you know, Bourbon Street was just like, so and that music, the French Quarter, because I'm a drummer too, so I'm really obsessed with, like, when I go, I like look at the drum stuff when I go to cities. And the second line, there's this beat that comes from there called the second line. It's a jazz beat. It was a band beat. So I saw some second line drumming when I was there, and I was just like, oh yeah. So New Orleans I loved. And in Tokyo, Japan, I love that. Not a fan of China. Been to China a couple of times. But
yeah,
I would take that off the list.
Yeah, they all seem to be, that seems to be the new kind of go-to
Australia,
spot.
loved Australia. Like, would live there, no problem. New Zealand, Auckland and Wellington. Oh my God, absolutely beautiful. And the birds, and I was all do a bit of bird watching too when I went there. So the bird life in New Zealand is insane, because there's no predators on the island. So there's more birds down there than anywhere.
So do you have
not as many as in Langland though.
Do you carry a book around and tick them off?
No, but my friend, he does it all digitally and Google Maps it and ticks the birds off and sends links and does it. Jason Rothmeyer, he's a head judge. He does it that way, and I'm like, oh my God. He's like, I just went to Africa on safari, and the owls don't sleep. They just stay in the trees, and you can watch all the owls in a tree. I saw like 12 species I've never seen. I was like, bastard.
Do you photograph them at all?
I don't. But next thing I'm going to do now, I'm going to get a 200 to 500 to start surf photography again, and that's what I'm going to need to do the bird photography, especially with the digital camera, you know, like the D800. There's so much megapixels in it. So that's the next thing. So I want to start doing the birds in flight. That's supposed to be really, really hard to catch. Yeah.
Do you anticipate? I mean, because, you know, skateboarding, there's fast.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, you know.
I count sometimes.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like I count for drumming, right? I tick it off, like, because that timing of the skateboard foot is down to, dude, it could be down to like a 15th of a second maybe to get that actually right. Maybe less than that. I don't even know.
Especially if it's Dennis Busenitz.
Oh yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah, good luck with that.
Explain a little more, lads.
Dennis Busenitz, this is the fastest skateboarder in the world. So he just goes like, doof. You can't follow him, you can't catch him. He just goes like, oh my God. And he's Adidas' main rider. So I didn't know him before, and we became great friends. So I got a funny Dennis Busenitz story. So the first time, I never seen him skateboard. And my first trip with him was in Madrid. And it was raining, and we could not get the places right. We were just trying to dodge the rain. Time was running out. We had to move to another city just to get the catalog and the shoot done. You know, we do the video, the catalog, shoot, everything in a space of like 10 days. It was raining, pouring down. We just get to this like underground skateboard park, and Dennis, no one else is skating. It's raining. Everyone's like, morale is just at an all-time low. And Dennis just goes out and starts shredding this little park on his own. We're playing football, not even paying attention to him. And he sweats. Dennis sweats a lot. Like, he never takes boxer shorts with him. He takes a pair of jeans and a belt, and that's it. And he'll dry everything out. He'll sweat and dry it. He'll shower in the morning. He won't even shower at night. He'll sweat it out. And I'm talking like sweating. And he came back in a bus, in a real bus now, right? And he comes in and he's steaming. He's like Arnie, you know, when they go in and fight, right? He's just like, and I'm just like, and then there's condensation then coming on the windows from Dennis. I'm just like, oh my God, this guy is so gnarly. I know everyone in the bus is like, right, let's go. And Dennis is just like some Marvel, like he's going to start on fire or something. So good, so good.
What about pressure of work and getting stuff done on
It's
time?
awful.
Yeah.
The amount of emails and it just drove me insane. Like the amount of. All right, when it was a magazine, that was nice. We had a nice thing going there because we were just producing more photos. That was all right. And then when it went into video production and we went online, that became like, well, we were managing 3 things then instead of 1. We're doing, you know, when it went online, that was just, and we were not, especially Transworld, they were not in line because we actually got sold. And when I got the job, all the guys who worked at Transworld left to do this thing called the Skateboard Mag. 12 of them left, and I was left on my own. Joe Patterson, who was the boss of the Surf Mag, he was the editor-in-chief, who knew this guy, Mark Ford, told him, like, look, Mark, just give Skin the job. And he was like, okay, let's fly him out there. So I flew from San Diego to New York, first class, got picked up by a limo, got taken to Wall Street. They're on Wall Street in this big Time Life building. So I go in the Time Life building, do this meeting. You talk to him. He's like, right, you got the job. Well done. Noel Pearlston wants to see you. At the time, Noel Pearlston was the boss of all the editors of Time Warner or Time Inc. So I go into this another building now. Another limo comes, takes me further up the road, and I'm just in this thing. And then so it's the Time Life, Time Inc. buildings, and they're like, Mr. Pearlston's office is on the, you know, the 40th floor. Just go up. Secretary will see you there. Go up to the 40th floor. And then I'm like, okay, I'm here to see Mr. Pearlston. She said, oh yeah, office is just down there. It's the last one on the end. And as I walk down this thing, it's to Norman's office was all the most famous Time Life photos you had ever seen. Robert Capa, Stieglitz, everything was on this wall. It was like walking down a museum. I was just like, oh my God, look at this. Look at this. And then I opened the door, I knocked, and she said, oh, he's not there, he's going to meet you in 30 minutes. He's not there, just go in and make yourself comfortable in the office. So I go in the office, and I'm just in this corner office on downtown Manhattan, just like spread. And I'm like, Phillips, you have made it, my son. You have made it. So I sit down and I'm waiting. Hour goes by, Norm doesn't show up, hour and a half. I just sit there, and he opens the door, and he's like, oh, Mr. Phillips, Skin Phillips, yes. Oh, my name's Noel Pearlston. Nice to meet you. Congrats on the job. I got to go to another meeting. We'll see you soon. And just walked out.
And that was it.
That was it.
That moment, though, when, you know, working class boy from Swansea, it's the big time.
Yeah, the big time.
Yeah.
You've done it, Mush. Don't get better than this. Because I'd never seen it like that, you know what I mean? I had later then when I went to New York, and because New York, I only went once or twice before then. God, what year was that? That was like 2006, I think, 2007.
So when you were printing stuff or getting stuff printed, I mean, obviously it was going to other departments within, and they were doing. What kind of say did you have on crops and all that sort of business?
I never liked the crop. I would just do full frame. If you didn't want full frame, I wouldn't let it. I always like to have the border around it too. So I never really cropped that much. I only cropped more digitally, which kind of think spoilt the photos. So I was like, oh, I'll shoot it wide and I'll just come in. I'll straighten it later. No, mate. Straighten it when you take the photos, so you don't have to straighten it later. And I think that's what I like about film so much, because you had so much time, you would be like quieter. Now we're just like, looking at them again. Have I got it? Yes, you've got it. Just take the photos, right? We spend more time looking at the back of the camera than looking at the actual photo, you know, right? Everybody does that. I do that too. Oh, zoom in, do that. I don't know. I find digital.
Chimping, is that what it's called?
I believe it is called chimping, yes. Yeah.
That's a new one on me.
Chimping, yeah.
Did you know instinctively that you had good ones when you were shooting with Phil?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know. I used to be scared because I knew, I didn't mess a couple of things up. I messed one up sequence in a lab. Someone put the fixer back in a school lab in the wrong one, and I messed the roll up because of that. And but it wasn't my fault. And he never let me forget that. John Rattray never let me ever forget that. You fuck one. I said, look, mate, just so you fucking know, I was in a fucking school lab. Someone put the stop back in the fixer, and I fucked it up that way, right? So don't fucking tell me I fucked it up unless you know anything about photography. But in a funny way all the time, right? But yeah, all the big stuff, I didn't, I never really, I'm touching wood here, I don't want to say that, but I would not mess a photo up, no.
So where are we at now then?
But I had scary times when I thought, oh my God, sleepless nights, have I got the photo?
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So where are we at now, Skin? You've got this wonderful archive, obviously.
Yeah, so I'm trying to turn the archive now into fine art. That's what I'm doing. I got a new manager called Frankie Shea in London, whose dad, side story, was a driver for the Craze. So Frankie, I've met this proper geezer who's sorted me out. Frankie's an art dealer in London. He's just the fucking dog's bollocks. He's the man. So Frankie's taking care of me. And Frankie's an old skateboard photographer too, and skateboarder from London. So he's and this other girl, Jamie Davis, they're working on a show called ATG. It's a collective of the best 12, 13 skateboard photographers in history. And this is going to be a massive museum piece show. It's going to be in Soho, above the Vinyl Factory, from the 5th to the 20th of July. We're doing something on Art Night as well on the 7th of July in London, something around it or something close to it, a skateboarding themed thing with the Haywood for Art Night. And then that's going to New York next year. It'll be going to LA and San Diego. I really want to bring that to the Glenviv after, because I think we can, or maybe at the end. But what we're hoping is people pick it up, take interest in it. We really want to finish it then in Tokyo in 2020. And then it goes to Swansea.
So what are you shooting at the moment then? Are you shooting anything at the moment?
Not really. What I really want to do though is, I don't even tell you about it, but I want to shoot the Gower from the sea. Yeah.
You'll have to have a steady boat though, Skin,
Or steady cam. I'll be all right with that.
Be a bit of rocking and rolling there,
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
I mean, you said earlier that you'd been diagnosed bipolar about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Have you always been bipolar, do you reckon?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think the bipolar was triggered by the work and the overwork and the no sleep and all that, and the mania came on from that. Yeah, all started when I went to a conference in. We were owned by the Bonnier Company. Do you know they are? The Swedish giants, and they were amazing. The guy who bought it was Jonas Bonnier, and he was like so forward thinking. We went there. Their offices were on top of the Apple store in Stockholm, and it was just brilliant. We actually did our conference in Nobel's dynamite factory, right? Because he blew it up already, and he had to move him out the country, so it was in the country. Yeah. And so I learned all about Nobel. When you go to cities, you learn about the stuff that you never ever learn. You're like, oh my God, like that. And then all these people talking. Like just triggered me, and I could not stop thinking about this conference, like how Lego works. I was like 2 days just paying attention to these worlds. They were like TED Talks. It was like 15 TED Talks with music in between, and it was like just the most amazing, professional, polished, and the women were beautiful. You get into these like a round table, and they'd be talking. I'd just be like looking at these women, going, "Oh my God!" Like the presenters and everything were there. And they do awards and everything. It was just absolutely fascinating.
Back in the day when the magazines were king, you had Slap, Transworld, Thrasher.
Yeah.
Was there a genuine rivalry between Thrasher and Transworld?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought so.
There was a north-south rivalry created by Mofo. He didn't like the way they dressed down there. Mofo was a Thrasher photographer.
Yeah.
He told me that later. So he started the rivalry by putting it in the magazine. So there was a Thrasher Transworld rivalry. There was a North-South rivalry.
Was it?
It wasn't about the
LA,
magazines.
San Francisco.
No, it was San Diego, San Francisco.
San Diego.
Yeah.
So
it was LA too. You know what I mean? And if you want to go have a little, I don't know. There's a lot of great skateboarders come from San Francisco. There's a lot of great skateboarders come from San Diego and LA. If you want to go north-south Cal,
so it would be...
As a debate, the best skateboarders, where they come from?
What would you say?
Fucking SoCal. It's not even a competition. It's not a competition, is it? No. No, San Francisco. Because everyone moved to San Francisco and skated there.
Yeah, yeah.
The guys from Southern California were born there. They were the real deal. Everyone just migrated to SF and claimed SF.
Right, yeah.
No one's from SF. There's not many from SF. Tommy's
was...
from there. You know, some great Tommy Guerrero and Jim
so
Thibault.
It was
brilliant skateboarders. But
it
they didn't create that. We're all friends.
Yeah,
We're all friends. You know. Matt Hensley always talks, he would never talk on camera about it, but he talks about it to me, and there was a full little thing going on.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it because I might get shot.
Amen.
Amen.